Good morning. I would like to call the Monday, August 19th Board of Zoning Adjustments meeting to order. We will begin with roll call. Candace Forrest,
Present.
Todd James,
Present.
Tamara Eggins is absent, Jose Alvarez,
Present.
Ramiro Diaz, Alfonso Gonzalez,
Present.
Jason Richards is absent. At this time, would the board make a motion to adopt the minutes from the July 15th meeting?
So moved.
It's been moved by Commissioner James, second, I believe, by Commissioner Diaz. Alvarez. Roll, roll call vote. Todd James.
Yay.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Ramiro Diaz. Yes. Jose Alvarez.
Yes.
And Candace Forrest. Yes. 5 yeas, no nays. The motion carries.
Please note that the board will recess approximately 1 p.m. if the meeting has not already adjourned, and we will reconvene at approximately 1:30. As a reminder to applicants, action that the board takes today will be released in the form of a disposition notice by August 29th and sent via email and mail to the applicant, as well as posted on the One Stop app for other interested parties. Request that the board votes to approve must show compliance with any noted provisos before the case is finalized and granted final approval. We will now begin with unfinished business for variances. Will the chair please read the hearing rules for variances?
Yes, rules and procedures for public hearings, variance requests. The following procedures shall be observed during the hearing. Each speaker shall give their name and address prior to speaking on the proposal. The applicant or representative will speak first. The presentation shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes for each applicant or representative speaker, but in no event shall the cumulative presentation total by applicants or their representatives exceed 10 minutes. Proponents or persons in favor of the proposal will speak next and be allowed 2 minutes per speaker. Opponents or persons in opposition of the proposal will speak next and be allowed 2 minutes per speaker. The applicant or representative will be allowed a rebuttal. The rebuttal shall be limited to a cumulative maximum of 3 minutes. For an exceptional case, the time limitations may be extended by the presiding officer with the approval of the board. As the board deems necessary, the case may be acted upon at this meeting or deferred for additional information or review. If the case is deferred, it will be acted on at a subsequent meeting as provided by law. All proper parliamentary procedures shall be followed, including recognition of speakers, relevance of argument, and absolute prohibition of applause or demonstration. Standard of review. The Board of Zoning Adjustments shall not authorize a variance from requirements of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance unless it finds, based upon the evidence presented to it, that each case has satisfied the 9 criteria listed in Article 4, Section 4.6.f of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance.
We'll begin with docket number 10923.
BZA docket 10923 is for a property located at 2319 George Nick Connor Drive. At its July meeting, the BZA deferred this matter to today so that the staff can confirm with the Department of Safety and Permits the amount of impervious surface in the front yard. July 16th, an inspector from the Department of Safety and Permits re-inspected the property and provided measurements to determine impervious surface in the front yard. The maximum impervious surface in the front yard the maximum allowed is 40%. Therefore, the site must provide a maximum of 207 square feet. The site provides 333 of impervious surface. Therefore, the site necessitates a waiver of 25% of impervious surface in the front yard. Based on this report, the staff believes that the requested variance of impervious surface in front yard fails to meet criteria 1 through 9 of the standards for variances of Article 4, Section 4.6.f. Therefore, the staff recommends denial of the requested variance.
Thank you. Is the applicant present for BZA docket docket 109-23? Is there anyone here in support of the applicant for BZA docket 109-23? Anyone here in opposition? And had there been communication with the applicant of the updated status?
Yes.
Did the applicant indicate they would be here today, or?
So this applicant actually received a certificate of occupancy from the Department of Safety and Permits. And so our staff is working with the applicant. Safety and Permits has confirmed that does not negate the need for them to comply with these provisions. So they do still need the variances. And so we're working with the applicant.
So do we need to do a deferral, or what do we need to do to proceed?
We would recommend a deferral, 30 days.
Any other questions from the board? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Just real quick, clarity on the deferral. And understanding that the inspection's been done, it seems like all of the quantities have been established. And when we studied this last time, this seemed to align with what was the minimum walk path from the entrance down to the sidewalk, as well as the driveway that goes past the front facade. So just curious if we already know that there is a modification that is a waiver of the 25%. They already have the certificate of occupancy, even though technically this should have been taken care of beforehand. Do we still really need to go through the deferral, or, because it seems like all of the check items have been done. I mean, this has been kind of going on since last November.
I thought the issue is that they're still over the 40%. That's what so we still have a waiver that we have to address.
Right, and knowing that it's over the percentage, the reason why it's over the percentage, once you look at the layout of the site, there's a driveway and there's a walk path from the stairs to the sidewalk. And I think that's really what that impervious condition remains as, because it was already they already did the saw cut job to remove a lot of what was the excessive paving. So they've gotten it down to pretty much what's the minimum standards, or at least a minimum condition in order to still meet what's necessary. If I'm looking at following what's on the screen, just thinking through this, is it necessary to truly defer it if we see it and they've really gone through and exhausted every condition that needed to be met?
Deferral is not necessary. You can, of course, take up the item and act on it. We were concerned because the applicant he has been under the impression that because the certificate of occupancy was issued, that he doesn't need this, though we have communicated that he does. So, he's not here, so it's up to you.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm kind of thinking Commissioner James is on the right path. He's well aware of what we've been asking for many months, and he thinks that the certificate of occupancy is a get out of compliance free card. And we were just looking at some of the current conditions and what we've asked. And to Commissioner James's point, everything's been checked off now, and he's even got his certificate of occupancy. Either we're going to vote to grant a variance or not. So whether he's here or not, I think that's by design. You're in communication with him. I think we should move forward with the vote if the board's okay with it. I mean,
This is kind of where I'm at.
one vote. What do you think, Rami?
Madam Chair, for motions in order.
Yes. Are there any other questions?
Madam Chair, in regards to BZA docket number 109-23, my motion's for an approval of Article 11, Section 11.3.8.1, Table 11-2A for minimum impervious surface in front yard, down to the waiver of 25% as noted in the staff report. While the 9 criteria weren't established as being met, I think that what has happened through the course of the ongoing coordination and correspondence, both with safety and permits, BZA staff, and the applicant, they've been able to establish what is the minimum need in order to really address what is necessary for this waiver, and with that address all 9 criteria. Are any standard provisos needed outside of the site plan?
I don't believe so.
The site plan proviso is sufficient.
Okay, so with that one proviso for a site plan, move for approval.
I'll second it.
Thank you. With regards to BZA docket 109-23, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Gonzalez to grant the requested waiver, finding that the 9 criteria have been met, subject to 1 proviso. Roll vote, Todd James,
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez,
Yay.
Ramiro Diaz,
Yes.
Jose Alvarez,
Yay.
and Candace Forrest, yay. 5 yeas, no nays, the motion carries. Next item.
BZA 00124 is a request for variances from the provisions of Article 22.8A1B2, Article 22.11D1, and Article 2211D2 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to permit the retention of a parking pad located between the front facade and front lot line for property located at 5505 Music Street. The board deferred this request at the January 29th, February 19th, March 18th, April 15th, and July 15th meetings with the request that the applicant work with an arborist or landscape architect to determine whether placement of a parking space in the rear yard is viable without harming the trees along the rear lot line. Prior to the July 15th meeting, but after the deadline, the applicant emailed staff an arborist report. Staff clarified at the meeting that the arborist report did not specifically address how a parking space in the rear might impact the trees. The report noted the following: I recommend leaving 1 live oak tree and 1 pecan tree splitting property lines. Cutting roots from either tree will weaken the stability of the trees. Also, it will cause the trees to die back, eventually die. Since that time, staff and the applicant have communicated, and the applicant has indicated to staff, this was actually after the staff report was released, but the applicant has communicated with staff that they are working with the landscape architect now, and they're exploring the possibility of putting in wheel strips in the rear yard. They believe it will be possible, but they have asked for 1 more deferral to make sure that will work, and if it does, they'll withdraw. But in the meantime, staff believes the requested variances fail to meet criteria 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7, and that literal interpretation of the ordinance will not deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed. The special circumstances were caused by the applicant. The variance will confer on the applicant special privileges. The variance will alter the essential character of the locality, and the change is exclusively for the convenience and profit of the owner. Therefore, staff recommends denial. However, the staff believes that a variance of Article 22.4A, Table 22-1, off-street vehicle bicycle parking requirements to permit a single-family residence with insufficient off-street parking, 0 spaces, does satisfy the standards for variances, and therefore staff recommends a modified approval of a variance of Article 22.4A, Table 22-1, recommending a waiver of 1 off-street parking space to permit 0 off-street parking spaces and subject to 2 provisos. But again, the applicant has requested another 30-day deferral.
Sure. Is there anyone here in support of the applicant for BZA docket 001-24? Anyone here in opposition? Any questions from the board?
For motions in order.
Proceed.
Madam Chair, with regards to BZA docket number 001-24, my motion's for a 30-day deferral at the request of the applicant.
Second.
Thank you. With regards to BZA docket 001-24, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Diaz to defer the item 30 days at the request of the applicant. Roll call vote, Todd James,
Yay.
Alfonso Gonzalez,
Yay.
Ramiro Diaz,
Yes.
Jose Alvarez,
Yay.
and Candace Forrest, yay. 5 yeas, no nays, the motion carries. Next item.
Can I just point something out too? In the set for this, the PDF file, there's a bunch of drawings from a different docket item. And I don't know if they're missing from the other one. So I don't know. It's the 2408 Johnson Street, South Johnson Street.
Okay, we'll fix that for next
Yeah.
time. Thank you.
Just want to let you know. I mean, in case we're missing them from another one. So.
Next item is docket number BZA 03024.
The next item is BZA 03024 for a property located at 1434 Toledano Street. This request is to permit the construction of a shed with insufficient distance from the interior side lot line. This is an after-the-fact request. The Board of Zoning Adjustments deferred this request on June 17th due to the absence of the applicant, allowing time for a reconciliation with the neighbor at 1436 Toledano Street. An additional deferral was requested prior to the July meeting. The board granted the applicant another 30-day deferral to allow for reconciliation with the neighbor, requesting that staff encourage the applicant to communicate with the neighbor regarding the legal action. In response, the applicant confirmed previous contact with the neighbor through both parties' attorneys, stating that all settlement proposals for the civil matter have been declined or left unanswered. There have been no updates to the building plans. With that, the staff believes that the requested waivers of Article 21, Section 21.6.8.7, and Article 21, Section 21.7, 21-2 fails to meet standards 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7. Therefore, the staff recommends denial.
Is the applicant present for BZA docket 030-24? You could come up, please. You could give your name and address for the record. We would need to take a motion to accept them. And unless someone makes a motion,
What's the context of this?
Kind of just graphic diagrams. Some additional context, but it's all just additional story a bit.
if there's no motion, then you would just have to proceed without them.
Okay.
I mean, you could, but I can't guarantee how well we could see them from here.
Okay, no worries. Lauren Hickman of the
Thank you. Anyone else here in support of the applicant for BZA docket 001-24?
I am the applicant. I just want to speak specifically to the staff report that we received on Thursday. Of the 6 of the 9 requirements they say we don't meet, we found a lot of conflicting information. The staff reports that only 27 sites structure. Their own report literally lists 32 sites, and then we accessory structures without even going through them all, so over 50% have accessory structures. We also found numerous examples where the staff cited accessory structures as being compliant when they're not compliant and touching other accessory structures. Area, it's very common to have an accessory structure. Very common to have a non-compliant one. Additionally, staff reports that we're looking to retain the structure there. We're not. We've requested to demo that. This is to rebuild. One was actually approved recently here in January. And then lastly, the staff says this is not a unique property. We think this is a very unique property with the 100-foot servitude, which prevents use out of the house. On the other side of the property, the house being within 1 foot for the entire side, the entire rear of the property having a garage. As Lauren pointed out, this isn't us not wanting to do it on the other side. It's not, we would need the other house. And so it's not that we don't think it's practical, it's that we really believe we meet all 9 requirements when you look at the actual facts.
And that's the end of your time, Mr. Oh, you still have about another 40 seconds. Go ahead.
Well, and so that's our point, is that the staff cites that we can just move it over there. We can't. The staff cites that it's not common. It is common, and it's common to not have it compliant. We believe our rated CMU wall that is currently there, constructed on that line, and additionally will provide for the safest location for a small 61 square foot. Actually, based on the facts, that all 9 requirements are met.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in support of the applicant for BZA docket 030-24? Anyone here in opposition? If you could come up, please. One second. I think the mic may not be on. If I could just get someone to double check it.
Testing.
There we go.
Perfect.
All right. Start over. Just give your name and address for the record first.
Mark Maurice Law Firm, 1132 Durbin Street, Gretna, Louisiana. The applicant's neighbor, Mr. Weil, is out of town, so I'm here today as his lawyer. I have filed lawsuit against the Flynn's for numerous variations and problems with their property placement, and I am also here as his representative. Look, my client wants to do everything he can to help his neighbor have a beautiful house, but the only reason his neighbor wants his shed there is for the beauty of his house. It doesn't meet any of the criteria. It does not comply with the required allowances. In addition, the neighbors never follow the law here. The neighbor is putting nails in my client's house. Now the neighbor wants to build on a CMU wall that belongs to my neighbor. Look in your documents, please. Look at what we've shown you. For the last 65 years of surveys, that wall is on my neighbor's property. The Flynn's haven't been telling the truth to this board. They say in one of their writings that that wall has been there for less than 30 years, but you have the proof. You have the documents which have been filed with the city of New Orleans for over 60 years showing that wall has been there, and the wall is on my neighbor's property. It's important that you also know when they wrote to you, they said, we want to rebuild this shed because we found a place for our pool equipment. Mr. Flynn has acknowledged, which has now been for over 60 years, a servitude of 100 feet. This is important. They put their pool equipment in the servitude. We're going to court. They're going to remove that pool equipment from the servitude. The servitude is there. Then where will they put it? Well, if the shed's there, they can't put it where the shed is. Additionally, in speaking with them and trying to solve these problems, we've said to the Flynn's, we want to use the driveway as a driveway. It's hard for us to drive a motorcycle around your car when it's parked in the driveway. They said, well, we don't have a parking spot. Well, you do. You just want to build a shed on your parking spot at the end of the 100-foot servitude, which Mr. Flynn just stated was there. Look, we would love for this all to be worked out, but putting pool equipment on a servitude, putting a fence on a servitude, doing the things that the Flynn's have done in this neighborly place is just not working out. And the CDC will be handling those other matters if we can't resolve them. But now putting a shed back in their parking spot at the end of the driveway's 100-foot servitude, I think is a very difficult prospect for the CDC.
Thank you. That's the end of your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else here in opposition? The applicant has an opportunity to rebut.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to rebut. We have tried to work with Mr. Weil for the past 8 months. Mr. Maurice is incorrect. We're not looking to put this shed on the servitude as clearly shown in the plans. I'm going to let the appropriate forums handle the remaining civil matters, but per the Gilbert and Kelly 2023 survey that was submitted to you, you can see that the fence line is off of the survey and the equipment is behind there. Stating that it's facts is not fair. And so, as we said, that we're not requesting to put the shed on the servitude. We're requesting to put the shed on our property where the previous location was built. And again, our goal for the past 8 months has been to try and work with Mr. Weil. His request for support of the variance was that we stop using the shared driveway and for him to use it exclusively, thus giving up a large portion of our land and land value and property value. And that ultimately was not a request we could meet. And so we informed him that we were just going to pursue a variance for the previous shed that was there. He was informed in May. I showed him the plans on June 5th. And he then emailed the BZA saying that he had never seen the plans and he was not informed of this. So there's obviously disagreement here on the other civil matters, but we hope that the board can just recognize the zoning request and the 9 requirements that we do meet, and we'll continue to try and work and be good neighbors, as that's been our goal and part of every communication we've had with Mr. Weil and his attorney.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Just a quick question to the app. I know there's a representative for the applicant's neighbor. You make reference to the shed wall being on his property. What I'm looking at from the older surveys, even dating back to 1987, shows that the wall is an encroachment. So just, if we're gonna have a debate on what's actually in the documents, let's make sure we're acknowledging what's in front of us.
Yes, and Mr. Weil did submit 3 different surveys, and all of them show it there back more than 30 years, which the wall which was placed and attached to Mr. Weil's building, we believe is Mr. Weil's property. And you'll see in each one it's carved out. While the letter which
It
was
doesn't show it, so I gotta correct again. It does not show a carve-out. It shows the encroachment of 0.3 feet.
and I'm not sure which one you're looking at, Mr. James.
1987.
I don't have that one in front of me. But if you
Well,
looked at
I gotta look at what's in front of us from a record standpoint, and I gotta make sure we're looking at this purely and clearly based off of what's provided in the record, which is appropriately documented. And let's be clear, more often than not, with a lot of surveys, they do get modified over time. We deal with disputes all the time, just professionally, in terms of one surveyor may not agree with what another surveyor provides as record. But from what I'm showing in terms of what's been course of some of these documents dating back that far, whether it's 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, it's still showing that the block wall is an encroachment. And I think some of the comments I provided in the last meeting was that it would behoove the two neighbors to discuss this appropriately, even with that wall encroaching onto their property, because there is a way to work within it and look at it as a common wall strategy. Yes, he's attaching to that wall, but it also encroaches into his property and it's not a part of the servitude. Because it appears that the common drive servitude leads up to the front edge of the carports,
I
not
agree.
beyond that point.
And that's where this parking spot is.
Correct.
That's.
So
the space
common
for the parking.
access to those shared points.
No, I
Okay?
agree.
All right, so I just want to make sure if we're going to present certain details or certain arguments, let's make sure we're 100% factual based off of what's provided.
Thank you, Commissioner. And if you look at the previously submitted servitude documents, they'll show that for over 30 years it's been there. And I think that's the important part, that it's now the property of my client being there for over 30 years in Louisiana. It's acquisitive prescription. So if you look at some of the other ones, there were 3 that were submitted, then I think that maybe that's just an answer for the courts, but. You know.
And maybe that's appropriate in that venue, but just for the sake, from the standpoint of what we're looking at, I want to make sure we're accurately looking at. I'm gonna step back further. 1942 survey shows the carport and what was the garage on this gentleman's property at the end of the servitude.
Correct. It's
Okay.
it's after the servitude. But
Okay,
that's
so
where the
so
pool
so hold
equipment
up
was
a
supposed to go.
second. So I'm gonna come back to some points that you made earlier. Pool equipment within the servitude, that's not the case. That pool equipment is actually in the same footprint as what was the old garage. So
It's
let's
not.
just make sure we're looking at this,
And I'll read from their application so that.
but I'm looking at record.
But
and-
this is what their application says, sir. Their application says, after demolition of the existing shed at 1434 and construction had commenced, the pool equipment was finalized elsewhere. So they're letting you know it was finalized, and I'll tell you where it was finalized. Is it finalized on that 100-foot servitude? That's the problem why we're going to courts, because they have to move that.
It's actually not inside that footprint area because of the way they have it documented on this site plan.
I understand what their plan shows, but our survey shows that it's on the servitude, and that's going to be a problem when the court says you
So,
can't keep it in
yeah,
the servitude.
we'll let that remain an appropriate venue on that topic, but from the standpoint of where we are here, and I think the premise, at least from my individual standpoint of pushing for a deferral initially, was to allow for two parties to try to have a common ground discussion to figure out what's the most appropriate measure to get this addressed. So it seems like that isn't gonna happen. That's unfortunate, so.
It is. We've had a lot of discussions, so unfortunately, we're not there. If you have any more questions, please let me know.
Gotcha. We all gotta live next to each other. Any other questions?
I think my question was kind of answered. I was just trying to understand the nature of the civil matter, just to make sure that it was of a different nature than what's before us. And it seems like it's addressing same properties, but different aspects of the properties. Any other questions from the board?
Just a real quick question to staff. I know that the applicant actually did bring up some points in terms of percentages of other properties out of compliance. Did you have a chance to look at that to see if any of those percentages do change? Is it substantially higher than what may have been previously noted?
I would need more time to look at the percentages.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Question to the applicant, did you forward that information to staff? The additional,
We got the report Thursday morning. We emailed Alyssa Friday morning and said, we've got some additional photos and documents based on the staff report we just got. Can we send them ahead to you to show them Friday, or should we bring handouts? And the suggestion was to just bring handouts.
yeah, all right. Now I understand that point.
I was just damn thing. I was going to make a motion to suspend the meeting and accept the additional,
Suspend the rules.
suspend the rules, I'm sorry, not the meeting.
Quit the meeting already?
What time is it?
No.
Suspend the rules to accept the applicant's additional handouts if the board so agrees, and take that into consideration when making this decision.
I'll second it. Just make the note that my only concern is that even with that detail, because it was forwarded to staff late, I would much rather staff
That's what I was
review
gonna
those
say.
details. Because even if we receive it right now, that's fine, but if you've already emailed it to staff, it's technically part of the record, but would rather them confirm percentages and compliance in terms of what you guys have provided.
The actual documents were not emailed to staff. They just asked staff.
Gotcha. All right, well, in that case.
We asked staff, should we send them to you or should we bring them? And they said, you'll need the board to make
Do what I just
Got it.
do what you just suggested, so just bring them and you
Yeah.
can request that of the board if needed.
It was properly moved and seconded.
Yeah. I mean, I'll still second and receive them. I hate to do percentages from a dais. That's the only reason why.
Yeah, that's what I was, I mean, it's only so helpful for us as opposed to staff being able to adequately review the materials.
Completely understand. It was just, we had gotten the report Thursday, went through it and said, we found, wow, a lot more properties that were, and understand that you'd want staff to validate that.
I was just kind of understanding that piece and just knowing that time frame. I hate to do this to you. I was just going to recommend a deferral again, just to allow staff time to really review it, to confirm that compliance.
We're okay with that, and again, we'll spend another 30 days trying to work with Mr. Maurice and Mr. Weil, as you said, like trying to be good neighbors. So like our goal is to still come before you and say we've resolved this, as we do think it's a common wall, and so
Gotcha.
yeah, appreciate.
So, Matt,
I would just
You
have
could
that
talk to-
conversation
with the neighbor.
with the neighbor after. I mean,
So have a conversation with the neighbor. Thanks.
we're really out of order having the conversation off the mics, but if there's anything that you need, I would just say consult directly with the neighbor.
Can we vote on that motion, or?
I was gonna say that we have we had a motion and a second, so we either need to withdraw the motion
I was going
or.
to withdraw my second and push for a different.
Okay.
Deferral's fine.
So, Madam Chair, for motions in order.
And just to be clear, we've withdrawn the previous motion, so proceed.
Madam Chair, with regard to BZA docket number 030-24, my motion's for a 30-day deferral so the applicant could submit further supplemental information to staff to confirm a percentage of get a different assessment of other properties that may have a similar condition.
Second.
Thank you. With regards to BZA docket 030-24, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Gonzalez, to defer the item 30 days, giving the applicant time to submit additional information to staff for review and consideration. Roll call vote, Todd James.
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Ramiro Diaz.
Yes.
Jose Alvarez.
Yes.
And Candace Forrest, yay. 5 yeas, no nays, the motion carries. Next item.
The next item is BZA docket 03124 for 2008 Porter Street. This is a request for variances from the requirements of Article 24, Section 2414B1, Table 24-3, Article 24, Section 2414C3, to permit an electric billboard along an interstate highway within less than 1,000 linear feet from the billboard, from another billboard, and insufficient distance from the property line. Staff recommends a 30-day deferral to the September 16th, 2024 meeting to allow the applicant to consult with the Department of Safety and Permits and/or provide a revised site plan. The applicant is proposing a two-sided digital billboard, which is prohibited according to a determination made by the Department of Safety and Permits on April 17th, 2019. And that is it.
Guessing the applicant is not present. Is there anyone here in support of the applicant for BZA docket 031-24? Anyone here in opposition? Any questions from the board?
Motion's in order.
Yes, proceed.
Madam Chair, in regards to BZA docket number 031-24, my motion's for a 30-day deferral at the request of staff.
Second.
Thank you. With regards to BZA docket 031-24, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Gonzalez to defer the item 30 days. Roll call vote, Todd James,
Yay.
Alfonso Gonzalez,
Yay.
Ramiro Diaz,
Yes.
Jose Alvarez,
Yes.
Candace Forrest, yay. 5 yeas, no nays. The motion carries. Next item.
The next item is BZA 03324 for a property located at 6800 Colbert Street. The request is from the variance for provisions of Article 21, Section 21.683 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to permit an addition to an accessory structure resulting in excessive rear yard coverage. In accordance with Article 11, Section 21.683, the permitted rear yard coverage in the SLRS1 Suburban Lakeview Single Family Residential District is 40%. The applicant is seeking a variance to permit 49.5% rear yard coverage to permit the construction of an addition to an existing carport. Based on this report, the staff believes that the requested variance of Article 21, Section 21.683, accessory structures rear yard coverage, fails to meet criteria 1, 3, 4, 6, and 7 of the standards for variance of Article 4, Section 4.6F of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, and that there are no special conditions that are peculiar to the land. The special conditions were caused by the applicant or another interested party. The variance would confirm the applicant's special privilege. Strict adherence to the zoning ordinance would not result in a demonstrable hardship, and the requested variance is primarily for the convenience or profit of the owner or other interested party. Staff therefore recommends denial.
Thank you. Is the applicant present for BZA docket 033-24? If you could come up and give your name and address for the record.
Yep. Shelton Green, 6800 Colbert Street, New Orleans, 70124.
You could go ahead with your comments.
So on a couple of the things on the special conditions and different things, this being a corner lot, the southern portion of it, while we're asking for the 9.5% variance behind the 20-foot house line section, if you look at the southern part of it, we've got close to 700 square feet of green space on the southern, border of the house between the wooden fence, and then we also have the sidewalk, the neighborhood sidewalk that comes right south of it, plus another probably 1,000 square feet of just common ground grass that's there. So it's, while we're trying to, get rid of some of the permeable space with the additional building in the back, we still feel like we have plenty of green space in the yard. Our lab Lucy would certainly attest to that. The special privileges section, when we were looking at the report from the staff, they surveyed 34 different properties. 18 of those properties at 53% were actually non-compliant and I'm not sure if they had gone through the variance process or they were just found to be non-compliant. But we're trying to do the right thing by getting this done. And then, between items 6 and 7, hardships and, keeping, what this allows us to do is kind of keep the yard clean, especially we found this out during some of the last storms when we had heavy wind events, that all of the bicycles and the lawnmower and, just different items that were under that carport, all that stuff starts blowing around in the yard, and there's really no way to secure that. So we had to rope a lot of the bicycles together, and I could see it being a safety issue, once it comes to hurricane season. To my knowledge, no one has complained. We've had the variance signs up for about 60 days now, and I've spoken with all the neighbors. We were here last month, and we had the signs out 30 days before, but we missed some paperwork, and then we had to come back, and we've, let the signs stay up this entire time. So I've spoken with all 3 of my neighbors. The 4th neighbor is kind of an absentee neighbor. All of them have no issues with it. Most of them have similar types of structures in their backyard, as it is. So that's what we're requesting the waiver for. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here in support of the applicant for BZA docket 033-24? If you could come up, please, and give your name and address for the record.
My name is Gary Roth. I was the original builder of the home. My address is 8654 Pontchartrain Boulevard, New Orleans. So in support of this project.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else here in support? Anyone here in opposition? Any questions from the board? I just did want to talk to the applicant about the response to the 9 criteria, because the information that was submitted indicated that there wasn't a hardship.
Well,
So I was just trying to get clarity, because if there's no hardship, then it doesn't meet all 9 of the 9 criteria.
so when we submitted this project, you know, I guess when we purchased the house back in November, December, it was always in mind to have this done. And being that we're going from 40 to 49.5%, you know, the project cost on this is going to be roughly $50,000. So whether we do it at 40% or 49.5 isn't going to change what Mr. Roth's going to charge me on this property. But then we started looking into, you know, we lived in the house, and we went through some of these weather events and some of these issues. And, you know, with no outside storage, there's, you know, it's a great house. It's very functional, but it's just become a mess of clutter underneath the carport.
Sorry, if
Any
I'm, sorry if I missed this. What's the delta in the storage? Like, what's the difference if we made it to be within compliance? What would that take? Would it take a foot off the building or 6 inches? Yeah.
So it goes from a 13-foot to a 12-foot storage.
Yes, sir, that's correct. And when we look around at the rest of the neighborhood and we look at the other properties and how they're built, you know, the amount of green space that we have compared to our neighbors it's not even close.
Got it, but it just in terms of what's a percent of compliance,
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's not necessarily taking you from like a 3-foot to a 2-foot storage, right? So does it still serve its functional purpose? Which it sounds like it does.
Well, can I ask another question? Is there another, I mean, this is about the building, but is it about total coverage in the yard, or is it just the building? Is it permeable area? What does the rest of the yard look like?
Sure. You're asking about the yard itself or the regulation?
Well, the regulation, yeah.
The regulation is specific to detached accessory structures, so we're only calculating the like the area, the ground floor area of detached accessory structures in the required rear yard.
Okay. So it's not about pervious area or something like that,
Right,
yeah.
so it's 100% the carport and the garage, in the storage unit itself.
You could argue it either way, you know, it's like you can make it a little bit narrower, or you could also say, well, it's just another foot. Can I be the special man on this one?
Let them have it.
I'm gonna say, let's see, in regards to docket 3324, I move to accept or approve this waiver, citing that the 9 criteria have been met per the conversation and the applicant's letter. Yeah.
Second.
Thank you. With regards to BZA docket 033-24, it's been moved by Commissioner Diaz, second by Commissioner Gonzalez, to grant the requested waiver, finding that the 9 criteria have been met, and adopting the commentary from today to support establishment of the 9 criteria. Is there
Any provisos?
Yes, thank you. Which,
Standard is
We would recommend a site plan approval proviso, as well as floor plan and architectural elevations for the accessory structure.
Okay, so noted provisos.
roll call vote of the revised motion with the noted provisos. Todd James.
Yay.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Ramiro Diaz.
Yeah.
Jose Alvarez.
Yay.
And Candace Forrest. Yay. 5 yeas, no nays. The motion carries.
Thank you.
The next item is BZA docket 03424.
BZA docket 03424 is for a property located at 4916 South Robertson Street. This request is for variances from the provisions of Article 11, Section 11.3.A.1, Table 11-2A, minimum lot area, and Article 11, Section 11.3.A.1, Table 11-2A, minimum lot depth of the comprehensive zoning ordinance to permit the creation of a lot with insufficient lot area and insufficient lot depth. Article 11, Section 11.3.A.1, Table 11-2A, minimum lot area requires a minimum of 2,250 square feet for single-family dwellings in the HURD2 district. The applicant is providing 2,226.9 square feet and is seeking a waiver for 23 feet. Article 11, Section 11.3.A.1, Table 11-2A, minimum lot depth requires a minimum of 90 feet. The applicant is providing 74.2 feet and is seeking a waiver of 15.8 feet. This request was deferred at the July Board of Zoning Adjustments hearing. At the applicant's request, the applicant has requested another 30-day deferral on July 30th. No additional information has been provided for this request. With that, the staff believes that the requested waivers of Article 11, Section 11.3.A.1, Table 11-2A, minimum lot area, and Article 11, Section 11.3.A.1, Table 11-2A, minimum lot depth, fails to meet standards 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7. Therefore, staff recommends denial.
Thank you. Is the applicant present for BZA docket 034-24?
Yes, good morning, Board. Zach Smith, 1000 South Norman C. Francis. We would hope that the board can consider our request for deferral as the ownership team has made a change with representation. So my team is coming on board, and we would, with just the cutoffs of the public record, we could not make a new submission. So we'd appreciate that request for 30 more days. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here in support of the applicant for BZA docket 034-24? Anyone here in opposition? Any questions from the board? Seeing none, is there a motion?
For motions in order.
Yes.
Madam Chair, regards to BZA docket number 034-24, my motion's for a 30-day deferral at the request of the applicant's representative.
Second.
Thank you. With regards to BZA docket 034-24, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Gonzalez to defer the item 30 days at the request of the applicant's representative. Roll call vote, Todd James.
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez. Ramiro Diaz.
Yes.
Jose Alvarez.
Yes.
And Candace Forrest. Yay. 5 yeas, no nays. The motion carries. Next item.
The next item is BZA docket 03724.
BZA 03724 is a request for variances from the provisions of Article 22, Section 22.4.8, Table 22.1, Article 22, Section 22.B.A.1.B.II, Article 22, Section 22.11.11.D.1, and Article 22, Section 22.11.11.1 D.2 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to permit the retention of a two-family dwelling with insufficient off-street parking, which is after-the-fact request, and a parking space in the front yard. The site in question is located in the Millenberg neighborhood with frontage on Peoples Avenue. The rectangular lot measures 46 feet in width, 110 feet in depth, and 5,060 square feet in area. The applicant has constructed a two-family home on the lot. Permit number 2211674 NEWC was applied for on 10/19/22. However, the permit has not been issued due to the unresolved off-street parking condition relevant to this request. Based on the report, the staff believes the requested variances of Article 22, Section 22.4.8, Table 22-1, off-street vehicle parking requirements meet 9 of the 9 required criteria of the standards for variances of Article Section 4.6.f of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance. Therefore, the staff recommends approval of this requested variance subject to one proviso. However, staff also believes that the remainder variance requests for permitted vehicle parking location, front yard, parking pad design location, and parking pad design location fails to meet criteria 2, 4, 6, and 7 of the standards of variances of Article 4, Section 4.6.f of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, in that 2, literal interpretation of the ordinance will not deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the district. 4, the variance will confer on the applicant special privileges. 6, the property regulations will not result in a demonstrable hardship. And 7, the request is primarily for the convenience or profit of the owner or other interested party.
Thank you. Is the applicant present for BZA docket 037-24?
Morning, Joshua Gaines, 6314, 6316 Peoples Avenue.
You could go ahead with your comments.
Yeah, I was just requesting the off-street parking for at least one space, being that it's a double address because of the insufficient space for off-street parking.
Okay, that's the end of your comments?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here in support of the applicant for BZA docket 037-24? Anyone here in opposition? Any questions from the board?
Just a question to the applicant. The report is not just a straight approval of it, but did you have a chance to review what they're recommending? Did you get a chance to review the report that the staff provided?
Yes.
Okay, so you're in agreement with the report, or you're still asking for?
Well, I was in agreement if one parking space, which is to the left side of the house, if you're staring straight to it, there's enough green space to the left-hand side of the house that I can put off-street parking and have at least one space in front of the home for the second home, for the second rental property.
But if I'm following staff's recommendation, that's not what's being recommended, correct?
Correct.
Well, I'm confused because I thought that one waiver was approved because it was required to have 2 spaces. They were proposing 1 with a waiver of 1, and that was approved. Is that?
Then that may be a mistake. We're approving, the intention was to improve the waiver of the required parking spot, but to deny the front yard parking. Correct. Yes.
Yeah, and also to the left side of the home is enough. I don't know why that the guy that drew up the blueprint stopped the parking right in front of the home, because it can actually go to the side, as all other homes in the area.
That would make a difference.
Yeah.
I don't know why he stopped it there, but it can go further back.
So, yeah, what's the minimum that we need nowadays? Because it looks like the drawing says 8 feet.
I don't think it has
feet.
enough.
Yeah.
He's going to need 9.5 feet total width.
Yeah.
With the,
It's actually hard to read from the tick mark that's on the Krebs survey shows an 8-foot reference, but it's not clear with regards to, is that to the edge of the property or not? And if it is 8 feet, then yeah, it's not compliant. An unfortunate pieces in the drawing.
Well, I'd love to have the architect here.
Oh, don't get me started on that one. This is one of my favorite too.
There's literally the cars are
Inside the building? Yeah, exactly.
And it's new construction, so it's not like it's.
Can't claim oopsie on this one.
Yeah, this is really frustrating. And there isn't really room on the right side either.
Yeah. Nope.
yeah, the right side would probably be front street, front house.
Yeah, but in both cases, the car is going to be in the required area.
It's saying 8'8" clear on the right-hand side. Question of staff, have we seen any conditions where that buffer or green strip requirement next to a compliant parking stall, have we seen any waivers come along those lines? Where a driveway could encroach inside of that distance?
We have had waivers of that requirement. I can't think offhand if there was, anything on the adjacent property.
Right. And the only reason why I'm asking that is because I think there's a genuine intent, at least from the applicant, to try to figure out how to get there. The documents aren't necessarily produced in a way that's helping to convey what is probably can be done for the site.
And the neighbors have a driveway on that side, on the right side, so it's not like it's.
It's a condition
hard
that
edge.
exists there.
You can almost share a little bit of that space. Is there a fence on the right side with the neighbor's driveway?
No.
So it's no different from a common drive almost without documenting it.
If you did wheel strips and, it's, yeah.
So facing the home to the right side?
There's no trees. There's nothing to
Facing the home
stop.
to the right side.
Yeah.
Yeah,
to the right
no
side. And
fence on that side, no trees.
Yeah, and it's a rollover curb, so you'd have to, move the driveway over. But, you could.
It gets you at least closer to what you've been intending to do.
8'8", you could fit a car. It's a little tight, but usually what's coming before us is there's not enough room and it's a really tight site and there's fences and you've actually got a little more space here and you've got a neighbor with a driveway and I don't know, 8'8" feels comfortable. 8 feet is really tight.
At least when 8 foot to 8'6" is what we're seeing in some compact requirements as opposed to, it's not the full 9, but it's close. Let me make a recommendation to you. Consider, I'm gonna say at least let's maybe consider a deferral on this one to allow you time to go back to that architect and look at the site plan and at least look at some type of configuration to shift the proposed driveway to the right-hand side of the property. And staff, if you may want to just kind of give them some summary of what came from here, consideration of the wheel strip approach to put that driveway in place on that side to still provide for some level of permeability on that end.
Yeah. Just to clarify though, did you buy the house or was it already built or was this?
Being built.
It's being built, so you're the developer.
Yes, well, my friend is a contractor.
Right, okay, so then definitely go to the architect and say, look, you're a professional, you stamped these drawings, and you didn't make this work, so.
He stamped the drawing with
the cars in the drawing,
house.
yeah.
They're superimposed on the edge of the house. How do you do that? And I'm not an architect, and I know better than that.
What did he do to it?
You'll see your floor plans. Just look at your floor plan. It shows up, yeah.
The cars are on the side of the house, like it clearly shows there's not room. So it was not.
No
drawn.
quality control on the
Yeah.
documents before he stamped it.
Yeah.
So I'm
you
not going
could
to touch
you
that
could have moved
topic.
the house over. You could have redesigned the house a little bit so that there was room. And the point is, we see that. So it's
Or before somebody else drew it, confirm
Yeah,
what you're stamping.
exactly.
So I have a question. Do you think there's a level of inaccuracy in the drawings to which that if they're shown accurately, that there's some feasibility of keeping it in the position that he has now, or are we going straight with move it to the other side?
If I'm following the Krebs survey based off of it, I'm assuming the building was built off of that.
Okay.
It shows a 8'6" distance on the right-hand side of the property, which if you did a wheel strip configuration of a driveway, it at least gets it closer. It's a little bit less than a foot shy of what is required for compliance, but at least we're dealing with a waiver of that distance, as opposed to all of the waivers that we're having addressed in the current report.
Gotcha. Okay.
It does change what the waiver request would be, but
Okay.
it at least gets him closer to what he's intending to do by providing at least one parking stall on the property.
Gotcha. Okay. I can work with you with that. I'm gonna call you. All right.
Yeah, and
There
is
you
there a mechanism out there or some sort of, we've seen this with previous cases where there's a driveway at the edge of a site and kind of a neighborly agreement to intrude a little bit on their space, that they don't put a fence right on the edge, or what? Is there a way to legally do that? I don't know what that's called.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, yeah, I've done, that was a while back. It's probably been about 10 years ago. I think we had one that came through on the West Bank. And it was, the setback condition was granted. And what they did was, a part of what was a proviso was to record servitude. So it was a shared driveway. But in this case, I don't think they necessarily need that piece.
I don't think you need it. It's just
Yeah.
more that,
Just down the road.
Because there's going to be a setback no matter what. It's just if they start, putting a fence on that edge,
And so what would you recommend? Would you recommend the strips, or would you recommend a little sherry driveway-ish?
I think the shared driveway thing is just a whole nother animal because it requires encumbrance of the adjoining property. But I think with the wheel strip, it still provides
The wheel strip's in a
wheel.
Okay.
It provides at least a buffer
Yeah,
that we need from a runoff condition.
Okay.
Exactly. There's still room, and even if you put the wheel strips and somebody put a fence,
Yeah.
cars are 6 foot something, and you just have to park. Yeah.
So given what we're trying to do, I'm assuming we're looking at a 60-day?
I'm thinking 6 days is probably more efficient, just because you're not going to be able to get that resolved in short order. So, Madam Chair, for motions in order.
Are there any other questions from the board? Proceed.
Madam Chair, with regards to BCA docket 037-24, my motions for a 60-day deferral to allow the applicant to coordinate with the architect and come up with a compliant, or at least a more compliant plan for the off-street parking pad.
Could we do a tentative 30-day? I know he was very anxious. He did, I know, I don't even have to look back to know he does not want to go 60. Can we tentatively do 30?
I mean, we could put it for 30. The only thing is just being realistic.
Yeah.
By the time the site plan has to get done, it gets filed, confirmation of what you would need from the waiver request. Is that something that could be done within 2 weeks?
Okay, never mind.
I'm just thinking about the site plan we have before us. I think we can draft up a recommendation with the survey in mind. So I think we could probably accomplish that within 30 days.
All right. I don't mind modifying my motion for 30. Just, it's putting a pretty quick burden on you to get this turned around to staff.
It'll be done. That's great. Thanks.
Thank you. So you're modifying?
I modify my motion for a 30-day.
Second.
Thank you. With regards to BZA docket 037-24, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Alvarez to defer the item 30 days. Roll call vote, Todd James.
Yay.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Ramiro Diaz.
Yes.
Jose Alvarez.
Yes.
And Candace Forrest, yay. 5 yeas, no nays, the motion carries. Next item.
The next item is BZA docket 03824.
BZA docket 3824 began as a request to renovate a two-family dwelling with insufficient permeable open space. Early in the review process, the question arose as to whether a waiver for insufficient interior side yard setback would also be required. The plans originally submitted by the applicant did not provide sufficient detail for the staff to be able to make that determination. So the staff requested that the applicant submit a revised plan that would contain the needed information. In order to afford the staff additional time to review the revised plans, the request was granted a 30-day deferral at the July 15th meeting. The applicants provided the revised plans as requested, but after receiving input from the Department of Safety and Permits, the staff ultimately determined that even with BZA waivers, the proposed two-family dwelling could not be constructed as shown on the revised plans. The staff is currently formulating several alternative proposals that would allow the dwelling to be built. But the applicant will need time to consider each of the alternative proposals and decide which one best suits their needs. Accordingly, the staff recommends a second 30-day deferral to the September 2024 meeting.
Thank you. Assuming the applicant isn't present, but is there anyone here in support of the applicant for BZA docket 038-24? Anyone here in opposition? Any questions from the board? Seeing none, is there, proceed.
Madam Chair, in regards to BZA docket number 038-24, my motion's for a 30-day deferral at the request of staff.
Second.
Thank you. With regards to BZA docket 038-24, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Gonzalez to defer the matter 30 days at the request of staff. Roll call vote, Todd James.
Yay.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Ramiro Diaz.
Yes.
Jose Alvarez.
Yay.
And Candace Forrest, yay. 5 yeas, no nays, the motion carries. Next item.
We will now begin with new business for variances. The next docket is BZA 03924.
BZA 3924 is a request to permit the creation of 2 lots with insufficient lot area and insufficient lot depth. So the proposed subdivision includes proposed lot 11A, in addition to proposed lots 13A and 14A. But proposed lot 11A is part of a conditional use request and is not a part of this variance request. So should the conditional use and the variance request both be approved, then the applicant will be able to move forward with the subdivision. So there are several non-conformities that exist on the site, as the existing principal structures on the site currently bisect both of the lots in the rear of the site. And this prohibits the applicant's ability to provide a compliant lot depth and or lot area. This is a result of the historical plotting of the area and not a result of the applicant's actions. This condition has also resulted in the bulking of tax bills for properties that are not held in common ownership and a limitation of the renovation or rehabilitation of this site. Based on this report, staff believes the requested variances of Article 11, Section 11.3.8.1, minimum lot area, and Article 11, Section 11.3.8.1, minimum lot depth, meet 9 of the 9 criteria for variances. Therefore, staff recommends approval, subject to 1 proviso.
Thank you. Is the applicant present for BZA docket 039-24?
Jason Riggs, Historic Pronola LLC, 3819A, Magazine Street, New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm here representing the affected property owners. I do agree with the staff report. The attempt of these variances are basically a precursor to a subsequent conditional use application regarding the larger lot, and then finally a subdivision to basically correct the original developer's lack of following through with the correct subdivision when they developed this property in 2007. My client has been burdened with being taxed on these two shotgun doubles that are blighted and have been appearing on his tax bill since he purchased this property in 2008, and has been hamstrung with title issues as a result of that as well. So we are working diligently to unwind these conditions on what was a historic condition that was built 100 years ago.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in support of the applicant for BZA docket 039-24? Anyone here in opposition? Any questions from the board? Seeing none, is there a motion?
For motions in order?
Oh, yes, proceed.
Madam Chair, regards to BZA docket number 039-24, my motion is to accept the staff's recommendation for the requested waivers for proposed lot 13-A for minimum lot area and minimum lot depth, and the requested waiver for proposed lot 14-2 for minimum lot area and lot depth. Understand that the 9 criteria have been met and move for approval with the one noted proviso.
And I'll second, but I just wanted to say something really quick. There's a really sweet letter in here from one of the neighbors. Just make sure you reach out to them and understand, because they just didn't understand what it was about. So
I did see that. He broke out his colored pencils, everything. It was
it's awesome.
Yes, definitely.
What's going on? But I second.
Thank you. With regards to BZA docket 039-24, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Diaz, to grant the requested waivers, finding that the 9 criteria have been met, subject to one proviso. Roll call vote, Todd James.
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Ramiro Diaz. Yes. Jose Alvarez. Yes. And Candace Forrest, yay. 5 yeas, no nays, the motion carries. Next item.
Thank you.
So the next item is BZA docket 040, and the one after that is BZA docket 04124. And both of these requests are identical. They're next door to each other. So would the board consider a motion to hear the two together, or would you prefer to hear them separately? We can't do that?
I would keep them separate because they are separate developments.
Okay, well, as far as rating them then, because it will be the same thing. Is that okay? Separate?
We'll have to hear them separate. So
Okay,
they have to be
all
read
right, no
separate.
problem. All right. So the next item is BZA docket 04024 for the property at 3008 Canal Street. This request is for variances from the provisions of Article 22, Section 22-8A1BII, Article 22, Section 22-8B1, Article 22, Section 2211D1, Article 22, Section 2211D2, and Article 22, Section 2211D4 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to permit the retention of a 5-bedroom commercial short-term rental with a parking space in the front yard with insufficient depth. Regarding the front yard parking waiver request, the petition lot measures less than 30 feet in width and is exempt from the off-street parking requirements. Further, the parking requirements of Article 22, Section 22-4A, Table 22-1 for commercial short-term rentals do not apply as noted in Zoning Interpretation Memorandum Z-2205, which is linked in the staff report. Regarding the insufficient depth of the parking pad, while the proposed parking space extends 6 feet past the front lot line, the distance from the front of the building to the sidewalk is 20 feet in depth, and according to the site plan, does not encroach onto the sidewalk. Based on this report, staff believes that the requested variances fail to meet criteria 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 of the standards of variances of Article 4, Section 46F of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, and that there are no special conditions that are peculiar to the land. Literal interpretation of the ordinance would not deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the district. The variance will confer on the applicant special privilege. The variance will alter the essential character of the locality, and strict adherence will not result in a demonstrable hardship. Therefore, the staff recommends denial of the requested variances. However, should the board find that the standards for variances are met, staff recommends a proviso that would require the applicant to provide documentation approved by the Department of Public Works. The applicant is not able to attend today's meeting and has requested a 30-day deferral to the September hearing.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in support of the applicant for BZA docket 040-24? Anyone here in opposition? Any questions from the board? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, for motions in order.
Yes, proceed.
Regards to BZA docket 040-24, I move for a 30-day deferral at the request of the applicant. I look forward to discussing this next meeting.
Second.
Thank you. With regards to BZA docket 040-24, it's been moved by Commissioner Gonzalez, second by Commissioner Diaz, to defer the item 30 days at the request of the applicant. A roll call vote. Todd James.
Yay.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Ramiro Diaz.
Yes.
Jose Alvarez.
Yes.
And Candace Forrest, yay. 5 yeas, no nays. The motion carries. Next item.
The next item is BZA docket 04124 for the property at 3016 Canal Street. This request is for variances from the provisions of Article 22, Section 22.8A1BII, Article 22, Section 22.8B1, Article 22, Section 2211D1, Article 22, Section 2211D2, and Article 22, Section 2211D4 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to permit the retention of a 5-bedroom commercial short-term rental with a parking space in the front yard with insufficient depth. Regarding the front yard parking waiver, the petition lot measures less than 30 feet in width and is exempt from all off-street parking requirements. Further, the parking requirements of Article 22, Section 22.4A, Table 22-1 for commercial short-term rentals do not apply as noted in Zoning Interpretation Memorandum Z-2205, which is linked in the staff report. Regarding the insufficient depth of the parking pad, while the proposed parking space exceeds 6 feet past the front of the lot line, the distance from the front of the building to the sidewalk is 20 feet in depth, and according to the site plan, does not encroach onto the sidewalk. Based on this report, the staff believes that the requested variances fail to meet criteria 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 of the standards of variances of Article 4, Section 46F of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, in that there are no special conditions that are peculiar to the land. Literal interpretation of the ordinance will not deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the district. The variance will confer on the applicant special privilege. The variance will not alter the essential character of the locality, and strict adherence would not result in a demonstrable hardship. Therefore, the staff recommends denial of the requested variance. However, should the board find that the standards of variances are met, staff recommends a proviso that will require the applicant to provide documentation approved by the Department of Public Works. The applicant is not able to attend today's meeting and has requested a 30-day deferral to the September hearing.
Thank you. Is anyone here in support of the applicant for BZA docket 041-24? Anyone here in opposition? Any questions from the board?
For motions,
Proceed.
jumping the gun.
Uh-huh.
Madam Chair, with regard to BZA docket number 041-24, my motion's for a 30-day deferral, as recommended by staff.
Second.
Thank you. With regards to BZA docket 041-24, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Gonzalez, to defer the item 30 days. Roll call vote. Todd James?
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez? Ramiro Diaz?
Yes.
Jose Alvarez?
Yes.
And Candace Forrest, yea. 5 yeas, no nays. The motion carries. Next item.
The next item is BZA docket 042-24 for a property located at 1304 St. Charles Avenue. This request is for a variance from provisions of Article 15, Section 15.3.A.1, Table 15-2, and Article 22, Section 22.4.A, Table 22-1 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to permit the construction of a mixed-use development with insufficient lot area, excessive building height, and insufficient off-street parking. The applicant is proposing to construct a 5-story residential building with a retail white box space on the ground floor and residential units on floors 2 through 5 at the petition site. The proposed structure will provide approximately 14,737 square feet of gross floor area and measures 72 feet and 6 inches in height with 5 stories. The proposed structure includes 4 multifamily dwelling units. Each unit requires 1 parking space, and 2 off-street spaces will be provided. Therefore, the request includes a waiver of 2 parking spaces. Based on this report, staff believes that the requested variances of Article 15, Section 15.3.A.1, Table 15-2, minimum lot area, and Article 15, Section 15.3.A.1, Table 15-2, maximum building height fail to meet criteria 1, 2, 4, 6, and 7 of their standards for variances of Article 4, Section 4.6.f of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, and that there are no special conditions peculiar to the land. Literal interpretation of the ordinance will not deprive the applicant rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the district. The variance will confer on the applicant special privileges. The property regulations will not result in a demonstrable hardship, and the change is exclusively for the convenience and profit of the owner. Also, based on the report, the staff also believes that the requested variance of Article 22, Section 22.4.A, Table 22-1, off-street parking fails to meet criteria 6 of the standards for variances of Article 4, Section 4.6.f of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, and that the property regulations will not result in a demonstrable hardship. Therefore, staff recommends denial of BZA 042-24.
Thank you. Is the applicant present for BZA docket 042-24?
Yes, hi, good morning. My name is Peter Spera, principal co-founder at GOAT. We're the architect for the project 900 Camp Street, Suite 314, New Orleans, Louisiana 70130. Just, real brief, want to go through the 3 items since I know you have a full agenda today. Really, the hardship of this project is that the lot is only 36 feet, 11 3/8 of an inch wide. In looking at off-street parking, the city would require for a 2-way aisle 24 feet, 18-foot car depth. That's already wider than the lot itself. Since the property owner doesn't own any of the properties behind or on either side, there's no way to have that parking as a 45 to go out. On the max building height, it is. We do want to first point out that the building is to meet the required base flood elevations 1'7" above the street. We also have a 12-foot ground level clearance based on requirements. The roof deck itself, which is 72% of the building, is at 62.3. The 72'6" dimension that's noted in the staff report is for the penthouse. That's the stairs, 2 stairs, and a restroom to service the pool deck. That's 24% of the building, and of that, about half of it is towards the back of the building. None of it is on the front face of the building. There's also a small elevator overrun that's 4%. To discuss the minimum lot area, a little bit trickier, again, because of the limited square footage of the lot, We have 4 apartments. Our understanding is that historically this minimum lot area is intended to try to keep properties from having very high and dense developments. We have 3-bedroom apartments, 4 of them in this development. They're around 1,800 square feet each. A standard kind of average in New Orleans is around 1,100 to 1,200. So we would say that our apartments are actually much larger than the average. And the only reason that we don't meet that minimum lot area is because of the small width of the lot. And just, one other thing, in zoning, you're allowed 60 feet or 5 stories. While we don't meet the 60 feet, we have 5 stories. We feel that we're putting a lot into this building, to comply with as much as we can. And, we find that we think that this is the highest and best use of this property and hope to move forward with the development. And I thank you for your time and here for any questions.
Thank you. Is anyone else here in support of the applicant for BZA docket 042-24?
Harris, 2631 St. Phil Street. I'm in support of the project.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Stephen Favoritch. I support the project, 7040 Cove Drive, New Orleans, Louisiana.
Thank you. Anyone else here in support of the applicant?
Hi, I'm Colin Van Wingen, also with GOAT at 900 Camp Street, Suite 314, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70130. I'm here in support of the project.
Thank you. Anyone else here in support of the applicant for BZA docket 042-24? Anyone here in opposition?
Hi, my name is Steve Carter. I'm with Baptist Community Ministries, right next door to the proposed project. I'd just like to point out that the picture on the screen up there is incorrect. The buildings next door are 2 stories. Our building is 2 stories. We just invested $11 million remodeling that. And the building on the other side of that is also 2 stories. We welcome new construction out there. It's going to be a challenging project, but I just want to point out that the building would be sticking out with the existing buildings out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here in opposition? The applicant has an opportunity to rebut.
I don't think there's much that we acknowledge that. I think this image is just to show buildings in the area, surrounding areas that are over the 60-foot height. Not really intended to have adjacencies. So, but thank you for the comment.
Any questions from the board?
I was just going to mention the same thing. Just if I understood this image, this is showing a hybrid of different buildings inside of that St. Charles corridor, not the block composition. If I understand correctly, this is the property next to the old Delmonico site?
Yes, that's correct. And,
Okay.
and as you stated, this is more just to show
It's
buildings
study.
in the general area vicinity that are over 60 feet height, but it is the property next to the former Delmonico restaurant.
Yeah, I saw that too and was a little confused by it, and just it's not necessarily helpful.
Right.
What we've seen before in this area is drawings that show the
Streetscape.
whole streetscape of St. Charles, from the bridge to the next tall building, just to kind of show how it is in context. Because I think, well, I'm trying to remember what's happening on this side of the street. I know there's
I think that there is the drawing in the packet.
Yeah, but it's only for 1 block, and so, just kind of knowing here's the interstate, here's the next, I think that side of St. Charles is generally lower. There's the antique building across the street from, the big, and then there's the big tall building across the street, right? So, there is some context that's taller, but I think that's a helpful way to show it in context, because it is a little, it is tall.
Yeah, so, and probably just to that point, I think the best way to establish streetscape study, again, is showing composition for the block, and if you want to show what's on the street, what's on the opposing side of the street, you either show that as a dotted outline or as a grayed out context, so we have a better appreciation of how that fits in the context of the block massing.
And you clearly have a nice, Revit model or something. I mean, throwing it in a Google Earth aerial is
Very easy.
a 5-minute exercise that would be helpful for people to understand the scale of it. Because I do have questions about how it relates to the adjacent buildings, especially since a height waiver is part of this discussion.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you guys already went through the design review committee?
We have not yet.
Because they might address a lot of that comment there as it relates to scale and relationship with the immediate adjacent buildings.
Right. Yeah, I think the requirement for the proviso, if that was granted, was to go through that process. We just felt that this was the first step since, based on changes,
Only thing I would just add to that piece, because while this is being shown, and you made mention of the penthouse condition for the elevator and override, it would be helpful to show the line of sightline study, knowing that if the zoning does allow for the approximately 60 feet, I believe 60 feet in height, correct? Is allowed?
Yep. 60 is the.
So let's look at what that is. Where you have is the proposed parapet condition. What is that line of sight from the opposite side of the public right-of-way? So we can confirm in that even in this condition, if the penthouse condition is outside of that view shed.
Yeah, and to that point, when we're talking about 9 criteria, most of what's driving that upper level is the fact that it's a roof deck that's occupiable. If it was just a mechanical overruns for elevators and things, I think we would be looking at that differently than a space that's to the benefit of the users of the building.
Right. And again, you can use a roof deck as a roof accessible deck, but you cannot have enclosing structures or roofs. So you can have elevator overrides, you can have stairs, but you cannot have a bathroom. Or a roof.
Right, no, understood.
The height one I can wrap my head around. I'm not so sure what to say about all the parking stuff. It's a very tight site. It seems like the development is pushing the boundaries here of the capacity.
Yeah, have you looked into it options for, I don't know if the zoning allows you to have valet?
Did you? Yeah, I don't.
The option of providing a valet service.
Your name and address for the record.
Curtis Lawrence, 345 Longwood Drive, Destrehan, Louisiana. So I did look at doing a valet service if the board would want valet service, but I also looked at talking to the Delmonico's neighbor. They own the property behind the building, and we also talked to them about potentially leasing space behind the building from them.
To lease parking stalls?
To lease parking.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, that would work because I guess it's like, what, 400 or 300 feet away? Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, but those are things that you should exhaust all those options before asking for a waiver. I would think so.
Well, I wasn't aware that, as far as with the parking with the building, I think I would still need the waiver and then I was looking at alternative solutions to provide to the board.
So we can document if you did have a lease agreement in place that you could provide parking within a 300-foot radius. That's how we would basically look at that and review it. It's not necessarily the opposite way around.
It feels like a chicken and egg because I think the ARC is going to have some opinions about this one. So I think there's a way. I mean, I have hesitations about the leasing thing just because it's hard to enforce it, but it has been used in the past as a mechanism. But I'm not sure other than to say this is feeling like a deferral for sure for me, and maybe take some of the comments and work them into your proposal for the ARC.
When would they be docketed for? Is it DAC or ARC on this one?
This does
D.
trigger design review, so I can work with the applicant to get what we need for next month, if possible.
But that will still push for a 60-day deferral if it's on next month's agenda for DAC.
And we'd be okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that they're going to have a lot of design kind of comments as to the proportion of the balconies and things like that might actually change the design enough where it might trigger other things. So I would recommend for you to look at that in parallel.
Okay.
And just, I think it's a really handsome building, but I think you need to sharpen the presentation a little bit to show how it fits in the context and how it really meets the concerns that I'm sure the neighbors have. At least, I mean, I saw some St. Charles neighbors that weighed in, but I don't know if other neighborhood groups have looked at it. It would have a significant impact to that side of the street. So I think it's going to be an uphill battle with the design review.
Yep. I mean, and just from the design side, I do see where some elements are drawn from what's on the NOCVB building in some of those design details. So the more you tighten that component of it up to address how it does fit some of the context of, because this is more of a modern approach, but still addresses some of that context, I think is important to put into this document and get a lot of those items addressed beforehand. That helps us. And just in terms of precedent, not necessarily saying it did set it, but at least the last project that was at the old, what's the diner?
The trolley.
Trolley stop, thank you. That site, I believe they did go through their DAC review first, and it helped to inform a little bit of what we have in terms of what we need to respond on that criteria. So, Madam Chair, for motions in order.
Are there any other questions from the board? Proceed.
Madam Chair, regards to BZA docket number 042-24, my motion's for a 60-day deferral to give the applicant and their architects time to work with staff and get this in front of DAC for review before we come back to this item.
And I'll second.
Thank you. With regards to BZA docket 042-24, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Diaz to defer the item 60 days, allowing for review by DAC. Roll call vote. Todd James.
Yay.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Romeo Diaz.
Yes.
Jose Alvarez.
Yes.
And Candace Forrest. Yay. 5 yeas, no nays. The motion carries. Next item.
Thank you for your time.
BCA 04324 is for a property located at 3001, 3003 Daniel Street. The request is for variances from the provisions of Article 11, Section 11-3A1, Table 11-2A of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to permit the construction of a two-family dwelling with insufficient permeable open space, insufficient interior side yard setback, and insufficient rear yard setback. The proposal stems from the applicant's desire to construct a two-story, two-family residence at the subject site. As proposed, the construction will not comply with the required 30% permeable open space, 3-foot interior side yard setback, or minimum rear yard setback as a lesser of 20% of the lot depth or 15 feet. The applicant is therefore requesting waivers to permit 1.3% insufficient permeable open space, 2 1/4 inch of insufficient interior side yard setback, and 3 feet, 2 1/16 inch of insufficient rear yard setback. Based on this report, the staff believes that the requested variance of Article 11, Section 11-3A1, minimum permeable open space, fails to meet criteria 2 and 6 of the standards for variance of Article 4, Section 4.6. Additionally, based on this report, staff believes that the requested variance of Article 11, Section 11-3A, Table 11-2, interior side yard setback, fails to meet criterion 6 of the standard variance for Article 4, Section 4.6. And lastly, based on this report, staff believes the requested variances of Article 11, Section 11-3A, rear yard setback, fails to meet criteria 2, 5, 6, 8, and none of the variances of the standard for variances for Article 4, Section 4 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, and that the literal interpretation of the ordinance will not deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the district. The variance will alter the essential character of the locality. Strict adherence to the variance will not result in a demonstrable hardship. The variance will be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other properties. The variance will impair the adequate supply of light and air to adjacent property, increase street congestion, increase the danger of fire, or endanger public safety. Therefore, staff recommends denial of the requested variances.
Thank you. Is the applicant present for BZA docket 043-24? If you could come up, please, and give your name and address for the record.
Hello, yes, Beatrice Cheryl, 344 St. Joseph, apartment 19.
You can go ahead with your comments.
Oh, yes. Okay, so originally I purchased this property for renovation, and due to the stability of the property, it collapsed, and we had to resubmit and get a rebuild or a new construction permit. The staff has found that this property is what they call an outlier, just because the density of the lot is already really small. And considering that it's a multifamily, and the average living space for a multifamily for each unit is about 1,100. If we have to reduce the size of this because it doesn't meet the variance, it makes it a hardship for the people living inside the dwelling. So I motion to approve the variance. I don't think I can do that. Sorry.
All right, that's the end of your comments?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in support of the applicant for BZA docket 043-24? Anyone here in opposition? Any questions from the board?
So just quick question to staff. The original building was a substantially smaller footprint, correct?
Correct.
I mean, the waivers are so tiny that I don't understand, like, why, like, the design can just meet this, like so little.
Or the side yard one for sure. It's a 2 1/4 inch waiver.
I get to where the plans were. I just got to them in the packet, because that was what I was trying to understand. Because I know what the applicant is indicating is that to be compliant would make the units uninhabitable. And I'm just trying to look at them. As I always say, I'm not an architect, but I felt like the numbers were very small, that I was trying to see what was really going to have to change to become compliant.
I mean, an easy flip is on the two restrooms to the rear. I hate to reference it this way, but this is a boilerplate plan placed on the site.
Yeah, and
and
there's
not
a-
adjusted based on the setback conditions for, I mean, whomever did the drawings.
Yeah, and you could do a little bit in the front too with there's a pantry that could shrink and you could pull that front room forward just a little bit too. I mean, you could take some of the fat out.
The living room.
You know, eke out a couple inches out of each room and make it fit.
Just in, yeah, just
Especially
in the
the width.
restroom.
Especially the width. I mean, the width is 2.5 inches. That's not.
It's not that, yeah. And even with when I mentioned the two restrooms, the two bathrooms off the rear, I mean, I know that it's showing this stairwell coming off to discharge outward, but I mean, that's either something that's easily could have been Jack and Jill.
You could also do, you could do a common wall for the toilet and,
Yeah.
you know, put the tub on the back end. I mean, there's a few different ways to make that work. So I think there's an architectural solution here without even needing a waiver.
Right.
So.
Come on.
It was our intention to renovate. I do understand what you all are saying. It was our intention to renovate. This property has sat on this footprint for over 100 years. And with the demolition, it was almost like we had no choice. The property literally collapsed. So these original drawings were designed initially for renovation. And like that property, you know, it's been there for 100 years on that envelope. So we were just asking to go back on the same envelope that was there when we bought the property.
But if I'm looking at the overall dimensions, the dimensions are bigger than the original building.
I'm sorry?
The dimensions of the proposed structure are larger than the original building.
I think that's done in error. I noticed that too, and that needs to be corrected. We just want to stay on the same footprint.
Well, and here's the thing, whether it's on the same footprint or not, you're building a new structure, new foundation. You have the ability through some minor tweaks and plan to actually do exactly what you guys are proposing without setback requirements at all. So it's really a moot point. Going back to the original building footprint just doesn't, it's just not adding up. And on that standpoint, I think some people think that you just keep it and I just tell you from versus looking at it within the allowable zoning envelope. It is a minor tweak on a footprint in how narrow it needs to be. Of a handful of inches is just an adjustment in plan. The depth can easily be addressed either through Jack and Jill bathroom off the back end of this, and even maybe some small tweaks in terms of the depth of the living room as proposed in the plan. I mean, it's really a simple red line exercise that you wouldn't even need to be here.
So what you're saying is maybe reduce it in the back from the interior and also reduce the sides, and that would avoid triggering the need for a variance.
Just whoever drew this, the quickest suggestion, draw the lines on the site plan that show the existing setback and what the setback requirements are, adjust the plan to fit. It's really simple.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
and they could relay out that bathroom in a way that's actually more efficient anyway. So
And less
back-
costly for you to do.
Yeah, because they should be sharing the plumbing is flipped. Should be the other way.
Okay, great. Thank you. You guys have a nice day.
Thank you.
So should we just defer for 60 days? 30.
I would say, I would agree with 60 just to confirm. But I mean, again, it's.
Well, the idea is we would defer so that you then just would
Could
withdraw
withdraw.
if you, yeah. So talk to your architect, but we don't want to close that door, so.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll give you some more time.
That's
It
fine.
shouldn't.
It's up to you.
It shouldn't matter because you'd be withdrawing if you need to, yeah.
It's just to avoid docketing it if we know it's not going to come back in front of us.
It's actually a big burden on the staff to go and announce it to the neighborhood and all that stuff, yeah.
Madam Chair,
Any
if a
other
motion-
questions from the board?
If a motion's in order.
Yes, proceed.
Madam Chair, regards to BZA docket number 043-24, my motion's for a 60-day deferral to give the applicant time to coordinate with the architect to see if this application is still
And
required.
I'll second.
Thank you. With regards to BZA docket 043-24, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Diaz to defer the item 60 days. Roll call vote, Todd James.
Yay.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay. Yay.
Ramiro Diaz.
Yes.
Jose Alvarez.
Yes.
And Candace Forrest, yay. 5 yeas, no nays, the motion carries. Next item.
The next item is BZA docket 04424.
BZA 04424 is a request for variances from the provisions of Article 11, Section 11.3.8.1, Table 11-2A of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to permit the renovation of a single-family dwelling resulting in insufficient interior side yard setback and insufficient rear yard setback. The site in question is located in the Garden District with frontage on Coliseum Street. The rectangular lot measures approximately 17 feet in width, 58 feet in depth, and 957 square feet in area. The parcel is developed with a single-family 637 square foot residential unit. As a result of the renovation, the total square footage will increase, but there is no proposed increase to the existing footprint. The applicant is proposing to enclose an outdoor seating area and add a camelback to the rear. Because more than 50% of the building will be demolished, it results in the loss of the home's legal nonconforming status for interior side and rear yards. If the applicant were to complete renovations without the waivers, this would result in a loss of 126 square feet in order to meet the requirements. Based on this report, the staff believes the requested variances of Article 11, Section 11.3.8.1, Table 11-2A, interior side yard setback, and Article 11, Section 11.3.8.1, Table 11-2A, rear yard setback meet 9 of the 9 criteria of the standards for variances of Article 4, Section 4.6.f of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance. Therefore, the staff recommends approval of the requested variances subject to one proviso.
Is the applicant present for BZA docket 044-24?
Yes, ma'am. Jordan Pollard, 6101 Morrill Street.
Thank you. Did you have anything you wish to add?
No, we agree.
Sounds
Waste
good.
anybody's time.
Anyone here in support of the applicant for BZA docket 044-24? Anyone here in opposition? Any questions from the board? Yes.
It's a motion in order.
Yes, proceed.
Madam Chair, regards to BZA docket number 044-24, my motion is to accept the staff's recommendation for the requested waivers of Article 11, Section 11.3.8.1, Table 11-2A for interior side yard setback, and Article 11, Section 11.381, Table 11-2A for rear yard setback, and move for approval, understanding that the 9 criteria have been met with one noted proviso.
Second.
Thank you. With regards to BZA docket 044-24, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Diaz to grant the requested waivers, finding that the 9 criteria have been met and subject to one proviso. Roll call vote, Todd James.
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Ramiro Diaz.
Yes.
Jose Alvarez.
Yes.
Candace Forrest, yay. 5 yeas, no nays. The motion carries. Next item.
The next item is BZA docket 04524.
The next item is BZA docket 4524 for a property located at 6101 Argonne Boulevard. This request is for a variance from the provisions of Table 13.2 to permit an addition to a single-family dwelling resulting in insufficient rear yard setback. Table 13.2 requires a rear yard setback of 20 feet. The applicant proposes to provide a rear yard setback of 3 feet 6 inches. The applicant is requesting a waiver of 16 feet 6 inches. The staff believes that the requested variance of Table 13-2 rear yard setback fails to meet criteria 1, 2, 4, 6, and 7. Therefore, the staff recommends denial of the requested variance.
Hi, if you give your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm the applicant and architect, Alex Modinger, J. Modinger Architect, 1558 Annunciation Street, New Orleans, Louisiana, 713L.
You can go ahead with your comments.
We have two existing structures on the lot that my client wished to use in a manner for a mother-in-law cottage, but they have two mothers-in-law to accommodate. They decided to do an addition between the two. When we came to the zoning position initially, we took a few different perspectives on the angle of how we viewed it, but ultimately after meeting with CPC, with Todd Breckman denying the zoning review at permitting, they suggested we simply apply for the rear yard setback for the existing building once the buildings were linked together. We have an option to do the breezeway under the current zoning that would allow the buildings to be connected under one roof. But the primary function of this addition and the expenditure by my client is to accommodate two mother-in-law, essentially a mother-in-law cottage and a universal design bedroom and bathroom in the new addition. Our intent is to have essentially an accessible path from the existing garage building through to the dining and living areas on the ground floor, where one mother-in-law will have to make an elevation change, but we've accommodated distance for a full 6-inch stair, similar to what we do in our elderly housing apartment buildings, 6-inch stair, extended handrails, different traffic surfaces and things like that. So essentially what we're asking y'all for is leniency so that we can provide an interior and accessible path between the two existing structures. And in that process, impede upon the rear yard setback. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else here in support of the applicant for BZA docket 045-24?
Hi, my name's Abby Bradford. My address is 6101 Argonne Boulevard. I'm one of the owners of the property. I'm born and raised in New Orleans. We'd like to be here to stay. We are just looking to put those two walls up on the 5 feet. So like for the safety of everyone that's in our care from 9 months to 90 years old, for now and for the future. We just want them to be able to get around safely. We don't want them to be able to easily leave the property. The fact that we're on a corner lot makes us especially concerned about that aspect of an elderly person could just walk out onto the street. And we want to hear them if they call. We're not looking to do anything grand. We're not looking to do anything for profit. We're just looking to do something safe for our big family. If we bought the property thinking that the accessory structure could be used for this. If we had built it from the ground up, we would have done the appropriate setback. But this is what we have to work with, and we're just looking to make it work.
Thank you. Anyone else here in support of the applicant for BZA docket 045-24?
Yes, thank you. I'm Neil Jackson. I live at 6101 Argonne Boulevard. Thank you for your time today. I know we're towards the end of the list, and we've had lawyers up here and companies up here. We're just a family with young kids and aging parents who have major medical issues that we're trying to find a solution for. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else here in support of the applicant for BZA docket 045-24? Anyone here in opposition?
We have letters from our neighbors that are in support as well.
How much time do you have left? How many letters do you have? Let's. Yeah, that's what I was about to do. So let me just do this, just so we could at least receive them. I don't mind doing a motion to suspend the rules just to receive those letters of support, and we could just have them. So, Madam Chair.
Yes.
If a motion's in order to suspend the rules and accept the additional letters of support.
want them right now, or you want me to just state
Well,
them into the record?
Did you just need a second? Sorry. Yeah, second.
With regards to Commissioner James' motion, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Diaz, to suspend the rules to accept letters of support submitted after the submission deadline. Roll call vote, Todd James.
Yes.
Ramiro Diaz.
Yes.
Jose Alvarez.
Yes.
Candace Forrest, yes. 4 yeas, no nays, the motion carries.
All right, yeah, so just at least we have them in a record. Got it. And that should at least suffice.
Anyone else here in support of the applicant for BZA docket 045-24? Anyone here in opposition? Any questions from the board?
Alec, quick question for you on the plan. And I think what's triggering this is because the buildings are attached.
Yes.
All right. Is there a creative solution to looking at how maybe that last couple feet of the building is detached from it, but you have some type of another covered approach that may be able to protect how you could traverse between the two? I'm trying to figure out a solution, how to get them
to
there.
achieve what you're talking about with the breezeway, we looked at that. The
Okay.
issue is moisture in the open air, and also the issue of a potential memory care patient having access in and out of the structure itself. So essentially, we create an accessible path that's on a dry surface, down to all the traffic surface, handrails, all of it, so that's safer. Leaving that as an exterior in and out does increase the risk. And of course, if you have a memory care patient, that's a security risk at that point there. Yes, I do understand, because we have looked at and we've gone through a scenario where we have an opening there, but it's to me it's my high school is known for its courtyards around it, and it's got a lot of moisture issues. And this, because of the trees in the area as well, I think you're going to have a fair amount of moisture issues in that it's hard to maintain good traffic surfaces and things like that. It's just a larger concern.
I guess now this brings up a question to staff, just given what the applicant's architect is mentioning, whether or not this should be considered under a
Reasonable accommodation.
Yes, thank you. Reasonable accommodation. And just to explain to the applicant, it's a slightly different process, but just given what's being discussed and the potential for a specific individual living on the premises, it's initially, unless it's appealed, it's a closed process. So we don't have a lot of details other than what staff can provide for how it's done. But that may be a solution to get to where you're trying to get to with the construction.
If I could speak a little bit more in detail on the reasonable accommodations process. It is designed for individuals with disabilities. So, if the individuals moving into your property are considered to have disabilities and they can submit a doctor's form, the reasonable accommodation process might be the best path for you. However, you should know that reasonable accommodations don't run with the land like variances do. They apply only when those people are living on the property, and at whatever point they're no longer living there, you would need to bring it into compliance. So, you do have the option of proceeding with the variance process, but you can't use, disability or something like that as a hardship. But if you proceeded with reasonable accommodation, that would be something that's considered.
And that's actually why I was kind of not going down that road, just observing what you guys are talking about, because the condition that you're building is pretty substantial. And trying to reinstate the condition to come back into compliance, it probably would be just as costly to reinstate.
If my client, I'm sorry.
So just real quick, and that's why I was asking the question, to really understand what you're concerned about from moisture intrusion standpoint, trying to provide a conditioned space that's at least, because when you provide a conditioned space, that's how you address the moisture control condition. But just trying to figure out what unique formula may exist to try to come up with the best scenario to get you where you guys are trying to get to, because I think what you're proposing isn't far-fetched. Me personally, I wish that we had a different regulation in terms of how accessory structures could be attached to primary structures in different ways because we all hate getting rained on, right? And just trying to come up with a different approach. That's why I asked the question about that formula. And keep in mind, even if it's a covered condition, there's ways, creative ways that you could come up with partition systems that help to keep that area completely dry as a way to still provide a clear part of access between the two, between the garage and the home.
We've used the accommodations to do handicap ramps in the historic districts before. So I see where you would think that that could be applicable in this case, yeah. I would be concerned a little bit about foundation and the structure, the construction of that enclosure versus making it how we would deem it temporary as well and how we would go down that path too.
Mm-hmm.
My client is not seeking, I know one of the words used here is profit. I mean, I can say that they're not seeking profit here because I've not been asked to increase their square footage to accommodate the approximate 50 or so square feet that we leave open to do a 5-foot breezeway. It does address, I think, one of the things that the board does not like to reward is convenience.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, I think this is, we're working around convenience and care and how that works together here. Essentially, we respectfully ask for the variance in that we're dealing with an existing building that's on site. I have discussed with my client the option to tear 3 feet off the building. And of course, if I was their developer before they came to a realtor and got a reading on what was going on in the land there before, I would have advised something that had a lesser structure in the rear that would have been less valuable to demolish or something in that case. But they came to this property existing as it was, thinking that it would function with their original use. But as they've got a larger growing and changing use, that's come their way. They're just trying to deal with it.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate scenario that happens in real estate transactions.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just to clarify, the garage stays a garage, and is it to
It
connect
is-
to it, or?
It is in part habitable already. When we
Okay.
purchased it, there's a mini-split unit for a second level attic little office space in there. And in part, there's some storage and a garage as well. We actually augment some of the fire separation in there when we connect the building too, just be a concern out of its use. But yeah, there's some habitable space inside.
But is the intent to have somebody living in there, or is the living happening in that
was
office
the
bedroom?
original, that's one of the original, that's the original mother-in-law.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm just confused because I'm seeing it not. The drawings seem to be are focused on the connector, not on the
So
use of the garage.
in the connector, there are 2 rooms, like an exercise room and an office. The office, you'll notice the door's a little bit centered, so that works with the universal design with the bathroom next door.
So that's where the
For
bathroom
one family member to be on level with the living space,
Got
the
it.
other one is off level with the living space for more mobile.
In the garage. Got it. Okay. Just what we have in the set isn't quite showing that that other living space.
Yeah, the upper level space of the garage was out of scope,
it's
so we had
existing.
minimal documentation of it. We got some more in time, but the original permit set is what we're using for the application here.
But it's on a second floor, and it's not it's above the flood level and all that stuff. So that makes sense. I just wanted to confirm that. So. Right. So motion's in order. In regards to docket 4524, I move to accept the applicant's proposal citing that the 9 criteria have been met based on the letter and conversation. And were there any provisos?
Well, staff's recommendation was denial, but a proviso could be a revised site plan.
Yeah.
But the site plan would stay the same, so not really revised.
All right. Well,
In addition to the site plan, I would also recommend for this structure, specifically the floor plans and the elevations.
yeah. So with the noted provisos.
For the record, we will use the set that is submitted.
I'll second.
Thank you. With regards to BZA docket 044-24, it's been moved by Commissioner Diaz, second by Commissioner Alvarez to grant the requested waivers, finding that grant the requested waiver, finding that the 9 criteria have been met, and adopting commentary from today, as well as the applicant's submissions in support of establishing that the 9 criteria have been met, subject to the 2 noted proviso? One noted proviso. Roll call vote, Todd James.
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Ramiro Diaz.
Yes.
Jose Alvarez.
Yay.
And Candace Forrest, yay. 5 yeas, no nays, the motion carries. Next item.
Thank you very much.
We will now begin with new business for extension requests. The next item is BZA docket 06921 for the property located at 1515 Poydras Street. The applicant previously received approval of a variance request from the provisions of Article 17, Section 17(4)B of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to permit the conversion of an office to a mixed-use development above the ground floor dwellings, 430 units, commercial with insufficient open space per dwelling unit. The applicant is requesting an extension of time pursuant to Article 4, Section 46G2 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to allow an additional 1-year extension.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, Richard Cortez, 201 St. Charles Avenue, on behalf of the applicant, East Kelly. Members, this is a simple, out of abundance of caution, request for an extension of a previously approved variance. This is, by the way, this is the last available variance, extension available to the applicant. The reason for the request is because, as you all know, we don't control the timing of plan reviews, right? And so it would seem prudent that we would ask for that. And it's not just the plan review timing, but also permit issuance and the commencement of substantial construction. I must state that we have now submitted all plan drawings related to the open space as of July 3rd. So everything's been submitted. Again, this is an out of abundance of caution extension request because the deadline is looming. Will be here October 18th. And the concern is it could take up to 6 months for plan review. We just don't know. We recently witnessed that similarly with a related curb cut permit drawings that we submitted back in February. And just to give staff time and review, we just got that a couple of weeks back. So it took nearly 6 months for that review. So we just want to be mindful of that. It would also be nearly impractical and frankly almost impossible to commence substantial construction if we were able to get even through the plan review timely and the permit issuance because of all of the construction that's going on around the Superdome related to the Super Bowl. There's just as if this property is literally located physically right across the street from the Superdome, and there's just kind of all activity, construction type activity going on there. As I previously mentioned, all of the drawings related to the open space for permitting by safety and permits have been submitted for review. As of last Friday, and they were submitted on July 3rd, and I need to mention that a review of One Stop Shop shows that doesn't show the status, doesn't even show that they were received. Now, we do have an email, just because I took precaution and emailed the Director of Safety and Permits, Tammy Jackson, and she acknowledged receipt. But frankly, if you went to One Stop Shop right now, you would not know whether those plans that we submitted, frankly, a little bit over a month ago, have even been received or under review. So for all those reasons, and frankly, to give staff time, and we really appreciate the work that everyone's doing, we just felt it necessary and prudent to ask for the last available extension to ensure that we just don't default on some technical time delay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Seeing none, is there a motion?
For motions in order.
Yes.
Just, Madam Chair, with regards to BZA docket number 069-21, my motion is to grant the last extension for this request.
And I'll second.
Thank you. With regards to BZA docket 069-21, it's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Diaz to grant the requested one-year extension. A roll call vote, Todd James.
Yay.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Ramiro Diaz.
Yes.
Jose Alvarez.
Yes.
And Candace Forrest, yay. 5 yeas, no nays, the motion carries. You're welcome.
Would the board consider a motion to adjourn?
I'm sure.
So moved.
And so second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Gonzalez, second by Commissioner James. Roll call vote, Todd James.
Yes.
Alfonso Gonzalez.
Yay.
Ramiro Diaz. Jose Alvarez. And Candace Forrest, yay. 5 yeas, no nays, the motion carries, and our meeting is adjourned. Have a good rest of your day.
Todd. Todd.